Welcome everyone. Welcome to the webinar on Industry 2020 Emerging GST Issues due to COVID-19. Let me just give you a quick walkthrough. Hope you all are aware about Taxman. So Taxman is a leading publisher on tax and corporate laws in the country. We maintain the largest and most secure online database related to income tax, international taxation, GST, IBC, etc. We have products, journals, online and offline research platforms, tools for TDS compliances, etc. We have also developed the national website for income tax department. We maintain it with our technology and editorial support. So what are we here today? Why are we here today? We are here to understand the impact of GST on COVID-19. Right? Indeed, this is a very tough time for every business due to COVID-19. This webinar is an initiative to highlight and provide guidance on the various issues faced by the industry. Taxman team will answer all your queries on issues faced by your organization or client during this difficult time. Indeed, this is a tough time for every business. So we have with us, the webinar tool, let me just give you some small tips on the webinar tool. Your mic is on mute. You'll not be able to communicate during the session, but instead you may post your questions in the chat box on the right-hand side. Your questions will be answered by our speakers during the session or after the session during the Q&A. In the meantime, we also have our entire R&D team supporting you through the chat. They are among you. After the session, you'll also get a copy of this whole presentation along with a detailed write-up on each issue for your future references. So we'll be able to give you some couple of file handouts at the end of the session. So please stay back and collect your resources. Right. So we have with us CA Vishal Raheja, who has been a part of Taxman's indirect tax team since 2015. We also have CA Sunil Kumar. He has been working in the field of indirect tax for more than 4 years now. He's also part of Taxman's R&D team. Over to you, Sunil and Vishal.
Hi everyone, I am CA Vishal Raheja. A very good afternoon to all of you. जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, ये वेबिनार बेसिकली उन इश्यूज को, जीएसटी के इश्यूज को डिस्कस करने के लिए किया गया है जो बिजनेसेस फेस कर रहे हैं कोविड-19 की वजह से। इस वेबिनार को हम 4 पार्ट्स में बांटेंगे। इसमें हम 4 इश्यूज टेकअप करेंगे। फर्स्ट इश्यू होगा आईटीसी ऑन इनवॉइसेस जो अपलोड नहीं किए गए हैं वेंडर्स के द्वारा। सपोज आपका रिसिपिएंट जो है वो जब अपना जीएसटीआर 2A चेक करता है तो उसे इनवॉइस नहीं दिखता क्योंकि आपने जीएसटीआर 1 अगर फाइल नहीं किया है। तो इन दैट केस गवर्नमेंट ने एक अमेंडमेंट, एक रिलैक्सेशन दिया है 36(4) के अंदर बाय इंसर्टिंग अ प्रोवाइजो। उस प्रोवाइजो की वजह से तो क्या उसका बेनिफिट मिलेगा, कैसे उसका बेनिफिट मिलेगा? अगर एपिडेमिक की वजह से इनवॉइसेस रिटर्न्स फाइल नहीं हो रहे हैं तो अब उस सिचुएशन में आईटीसी कैसे अवेल किया जाएगा जीएसटीआर 3B में। सेकेंड इश्यू हम टेकअप करेंगे, सपोज किसी बिजनेस के अंदर ड्यू टू फाइनेंशियल डिफिकल्टी उसका रिसिपिएंट पेमेंट नहीं कर पाता है, उसे या तो डिस्काउंट देना पड़ता है अपने रिसिपिएंट को ताकि टाइमली पेमेंट मिले, या फिर ड्यू टू फाइनेंशियल हार्डशिप जो उसका रिसिपिएंट है वो टोटली अनेबल है, ही इज नॉट एबल टू पे, एंड इन दैट केस दिस इज द बैड डेट केस। तो उस केसेस में जो सप्लायर ने टैक्सेस पे किए हैं, if the supplier has paid the taxes on the invoice value, and in that case what would be the treatment of that tax? Will it be refunded or it would be adjusted in the future liability? In the third issue we will discuss what would be the ITC implications if the goods are destroyed due to epidemic. Suppose this is the commodity which has a limited shelf life, so the commodity has been destroyed or disposed of because the life has been over. Now what would happen to the ITC if he has purchased the goods, he has taken the ITC, but now the final product, the finished goods, the raw material has been destroyed or disposed of, तो उस ITC को उसे क्या राइट ऑफ करना पड़ेगा। फोर्थ इशू के अंदर हम डिस्कस करेंगे, ड्यू टू MHA गाइडलाइंस इट इज नाउ मैंडेटरी टू प्रोवाइड द एडिक्वेट स्टॉक ऑफ मास्क एंड द सैनिटाइजर्स। द यूजर्स, द रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन हैज टू बाय the mask, he has to pay GST on purchasing mask and the sanitizers. So whether the purchase is eligible for ITC. Now over to Sunil, he will take the first issue, ITC on invoices not uploaded by vendors. Sunil.
Yeah, thanks Vishal. Hi everyone, hope you all are safe and healthy. I welcome to all of you on this webinar. Indeed, these are tough times for government as well as for the industry. Considering this COVID-19 outcome, the government has provided various relaxations under the provisions of the indirect tax law. On relaxations में से GSTR 1 की लेट फीस को वेव करना वन ऑफ देम, अगर आपने रिटर्न को स्पेसिफाइड टाइम के अंदर फाइल करते हो तो. On one side, the government has provided the benefit of filing your GSTR 1 by waiving the late fees. Simultaneously, it is required from the government that to provide a benefit under Rule 36(4) also, which basically restricts the ITC on invoices which are not uploaded by the vendor. So Rule 36(4) says that ITC in respect of invoices which are not uploaded by the vendor in his GSTR 1, which would automatically come in GSTR 2A. In respect of that invoices, the recipient would be entitled to take credit maximum of 10%. Now this 10% is required to be calculated on the total ITC which is coming in your GSTR 2A. It is not 10% of the invoice which is issued by the vendor. It is on the total ITC which is coming onto the GSTR 2A, and that is on eligible ITC. So you would require to calculate 10% of eligible ITC that would be available to you in respect of invoices which are not uploaded. Now, considering this COVID-19 outbreak, the government has inserted a proviso in Rule 36(4). Vishal, can we come to the next slide, please? Yeah. The proviso says, as you can see from in your slide decks, there is a time chart from 1 to 5. Rule 36(4) were introduced on 9th October 2019, and the relaxation by way of inserting the proviso was incorporated by the government on 3rd of April 2020. This proviso says that the recipient can claim credit of invoices which are not uploaded on cumulatively basis for the period of February to August. Now, it's very important to understand the drafting of the law here, because basis this we would be able to conclude so many questions which would come in the next slide X. So we would need to apply the condition cumulatively for the period February to the August. Okay. And second condition is that the cumulative adjustment of this period would require to be done in the month of September 2020 by the recipient. Now we can have different questions regarding this. First is that how we can claim credit in respect of invoices pertains to February to August. Unka credit hum log kaise claim kare? So let us understand each question one by one. So in respect of these invoices जो आपके February से लेकर के August तक हैंगे, जो आपको इस period में मिलते हैंगे, on that invoices you would be able to claim 100% credit when you receive the invoice itself in any month, irrespective of the fact कि आपका vendor February में return file करता है, August में file करता है, कभी भी करे इस period के दौरान, he would be able to take, a recipient would be able to take the entire credit. Why so? Because the proviso of Rule 36(4) clearly says that we need to apply Rule 36(4) on cumulative basis. Okay. The second question which can come here is this कि February के invoices से पहले जो मेरे invoices हैं, उन केस में there may be a situation where you have an invoice of January, and because of your practical issue within the organization, internal process है, invoice process होने में time लगता है, finance team पे बहुत देर में पहुंचता है, तो you would be able to claim credit in next month. So rule says कि February से लेके August तक के period का cumulative adjustment लेना है. So issue is कि जब मेरे पास invoice था, उस time पे rule में ये प्रोविजो नहीं था उस पीरियड के लिए, बट जब मैं इसका क्रेडिट क्लेम कर रहा हूं तो प्रोविजो मुझे बेनिफिट दे रहा है. सो कैन आई क्लेम 100% ऑफ द आईटीसी? of February to August or not? The answer of this question would be yes. You would be able to take the 100% ITC with the same analogy as we discussed in the first equation in respect of invoices pertains to February to August. Why? Because under the GST law, there is no restriction that you need to claim credit on the same month. You can defer your invoice, and practically we do a deferment of our invoices. We claim credit in subsequent months. So therefore, you can claim credit, 100% credit in your subsequent return in a similar way as we discussed in first scenario. Now there can be a third scenario also, which is very interesting and full of contentious, that if I have claimed credit by taking the benefit of rule 36(4), that is 10%, in earlier periods, can I claim remaining credit in this period, provided the recipient files the GSTR1 by August, by GSTR 3B of yours before that? The answer would be, there can be two sets of interpretation. The answer would be yes or no. The first set of interpretation says that, okay, you would be able to take credit. Why so? Because the way the rule is drafted, it says that the ITC would be available if it is, so ITC would not be available. ITC would be available to the extent of 10%. Simply, it says maximum this point. Now, the proviso says for the above condition, we need to apply, the above condition needs to be applied cumulatively basis. So one can say that, okay, the credit which is there, which I need to claim, I can claim on this cumulative basis. Therefore, if invoice is uploaded within this period, I can claim that credit, remaining credit within this period, with the same analogy as we discussed above. The another set of interpretation is which says that, okay, you would not be able to take credit. That is because this rule is introduced for the period of February to August. Therefore, this needs to be applied in respect of invoices which are coming in February, that's it. Or you can say the credit of which is taken first time in the month of February. This would not be applicable for the past period. That is 9th October to 31st January. So, answer to this question or this interpretation is this: Rule 36(4) is not providing any restriction on condition in this regard that you cannot claim the credit. You can still claim the credit. But when you ultimately apply, now the question which comes finally, that if the vendor does not upload his return, what would be the implication in that scenario? So in the first scenario, from period February to August, if vendor does not uploads his invoice, then no interest implication would be there, for the simple reason that he has complied the rule 36(4) properly, the way the rule 36(4) is drafted. That is, आप अपने इस पूरे पीरियड का क्रेडिट क्लेम कर सकते हैं इस क्यूमुलेटिव बेसिस पे, और आपको फाइनल एडजस्टमेंट जो करना हैगा आप उसको करोगे सितंबर में. तो मैंने फरवरी से लेकर के अगस्त तक के इनवॉइसेस का क्रेडिट क्लेम किया और मैंने एडजस्टमेंट कर दिया. तो अगर मैंने ज्यादा भी क्लेम कर लिया और रिवर्स करना पड़ गया तो उस पर मुझे कोई आईटीसी रिवर्स नहीं करना पड़ेगा. सेकेंड केस के अंदर जहां पे हम कह रहे हैं कि पुराने इनवॉइस हैं मेरे 9 अक्टूबर से लेके 31 जनवरी तक के, जिसका मैंने डेफरमेंट कर दिया था आईटीसी का, मैंने 10% का बेनिफिट नहीं लिया था. सिंस वी आर अप्लाइंग द सिमिलर analogy as we discussed for the February to August month invoices, therefore in that case also interest would not be applicable with the same analogy as we discussed. Now in third scenario, where we said that, okay, you can claim the credit of remaining ITC within this spam red zone area, that is 3rd to 4th, February to August period, if the vendor does not upload his invoice within the time frame provided under the rule 36(4), which is GSTR 3B of September 2020 by the recipient, in that case interest would be applicable, because there are two separate tax periods. One is when you had claimed the credit, and second, when you are claiming the credit by applying the cumulative principal concept. So if invoice is not uploaded within this period, you have not complied overall with the rule 36(4). Therefore, interest would be leviable in that case. Vishal, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sunil. So moving to the next issue, GST implications on bad debts and discounts. As we discussed earlier, due to this pandemic COVID-19, the businesses have faced financial difficulty. And due to that financial difficulty, there may be two cases. The first case can be जिस केस के अंदर recipient payment नहीं कर सकता timely. He needs some time, and the buyer, the supplier who has supplied goods, gives time discount. He tells, if you give me the payment, I will give you 20% discount if payment is made within a month or within a week. So in that case, supplier ने recipient को एक option दिया कि आप या तो जल्दी मुझे payment कर दें, मैं आपको discount दूंगा. Because financial difficulty है, recipient is not in the position to make the payment. And the second case would be due to financial hardship, recipient has denied. He said, I cannot make any payment, and the amount is bad debts. So in both the scenarios, the supplier has already paid the GST. जब उसने invoice raise किया, he has paid the taxes, but now the consideration is either reduced value or nil. So in both the cases, if the supplier has not received the consideration or received the lower amount of consideration, what would happen to the GST paid to the government? So basically the answer lies in the section 15 itself. The legal provision of section 15(3) specifically says, if the discount has been established before or at the time of supply, अगर वो एक agreement के according पहले ही establish हो चुका था, तो उस case में it shall not form part of value of supply. However, if the post supply discount is given where it is not established before or at the time of supply, the discount is given after the supply, it will form part of value of supply and it shall not be excluded. So in the scenario where the discount has been given for the timely payment, जहां पर डिस्काउंट दिया गया है टाइमली पेमेंट के लिए, सप्लायर ने रिसिपिएंट को दिया है डिस्काउंट कि आप मुझे, सपोज there is a consideration of 1000 in the transaction and the supplier says pay me 800 only, 20% timely payment discount. So this was not pre-agreed because in our situation COVID-19 के बारे में पहले सप्लायर को नहीं पता था. However, बाद में रिसिपिएंट की फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन को देखते हुए द सप्लायर फेल्ट कि उसे कंसिडरेशन नहीं मिलेगा, बैड डेट होने से बचाने के लिए उसने उसे डिस्काउंट दिया. He said pay me a lesser amount. So now it is clear, अगर उसने बाद में डिस्काउंट दिया है तो वो एग्रीमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग पहले एंटर नहीं हुआ था, तो इट वुड नॉट बी पार्ट ऑफ दिस सिनेरियो और उसको उसका डिडक्शन नहीं मिलेगा. द सप्लायर कैन नॉट गेट एनी बेनिफिट, उसको कोई बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा इस सिनेरियो में, बिकॉज जो डिस्काउंट है वो पोस्ट सप्लाई दिया गया है. सेक्शन 15 स्पेसिफिकली इस ट्रांजैक्शन को डील करता है. हाउएवर यहां पर एक और सिचुएशन अराइज हो सकती है जो थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है. डिडक्शन अगर डेफिशिएंसी की वजह से आई है पेमेंट में, अगर वहां पर उसे डिडक्शन प्रोवाइड की गई है कंसिडरेशन में बिकॉज ऑफ देयर इज अ डेफिशिएंसी इन द सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स और सर्विसेज, कुछ उसके अंदर कमी रह गई, तो उसके लिए सेक्शन 34 के अंदर स्पेसिफिकली इस चीज को डील किया गया है. वो टैक्स लायबिलिटी के साथ एडजस्टमेंट किया जा सकता है बाय रेजिंग द क्रेडिट नोट विद इन द टाइम लिमिट प्रेस्क्राइब्ड अंडर सेक्शन 34. लेकिन हमारे केस में उसे डिस्काउंट दिया गया है बाद में. द डिस्काउंट हैज बीन गिवन पोस्ट सप्लाई फॉर द टाइमली पेमेंट. सो इन दिस सिनेरियो द बेनिफिट शैल नॉट बी अवेलेबल. उसे ना ही उसका रिफंड मिलेगा और ना ही टाइमली एडजस्टमेंट मिलेगा. सेकेंड सिनेरियो, इसी केस में व्हाट वुड बी द ट्रीटमेंट इन केस ऑफ बैड डेट्स. यहां पर इंपॉर्टेंट है टू अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग ऑफ बैड डेट्स. बैड डेट is the debt which may become bad when it is proved to be irrecoverable. यानी कि क्लियर हो चुका है वो पैसा नहीं मिल सकता, या फिर it has been clear that debtor is in a bad financial position. वो bad financial position के अंदर है और वहां पर ray of hope ही नहीं है कि उसे यहां पर अमाउंट रियलाइज होगा. तो इस केस में इसे बैड डेट्स बोला जाता है. दिस इंटरप्रिटेशन हैज केम बाय द केरला हाई कोर्ट हेल्ड इन द केस ऑफ Tranco Tea Estates Company Limited. सो जब यहां पर क्लियर है कि उसे बैड डेट्स मिल चुके हैं, अमाउंट उसे रिसीव नहीं होगा, बैड डेट हो चुका है, क्लियर कट है, तो क्या उसे जो अमाउंट रिसीव नहीं होना उसे उसके ऊपर रिफंड मिलेगा? बिकॉज इन दिस ट्रांजैक्शन द सप्लायर हैज पेड जीएसटी ऑन द इनवॉइस वैल्यू, बट एट द लेटर डेट उसे क्लियर है कि अब मुझे कंसिडरेशन तो नहीं मिलेगा. सो उसे दो लॉस हुए. फर्स्ट, कंसिडरेशन नहीं मिला, जीएसटी जो गवर्नमेंट को पे किया वहां पर भी. हाउएवर, वन में आर्ग्यू इन दिस केस द वैल्यूएशन प्रोविजंस आर साइलेंट. उसके अंदर ऐसा कुछ नहीं बताया गया है कि ट्रांजैक्शन वैल्यू कब डिटरमाइन की जाएगी. उसे हम किसी भी पॉइंट पे देख सकते हैं, और अगर मुझे बाद में पता चलता है कि मुझे वैल्यू नहीं मिल रही है, कंसिडरेशन नहीं मिल रही है, तो मुझे अपनी इनवॉइस को जीरो कर देना चाहिए, कैंसिल कर देना चाहिए. हाउएवर, ये व्यू सही नहीं है. द रीजन इज, जो ट्रांजैक्शन वैल्यू के डिटर्मिनेशन के लिए वैल्यूएशन के प्रिंसिपल्स दिए गए हैं, द स्टैच्यू मस्ट बी रीड एज होल. हमें जो सप्लाई का मीनिंग है, लेवी ऑफ टैक्स, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई शुड बी कंस्ट्रक्टेड, उसे एक हार्मनी के साथ एज अ होल पढ़ना चाहिए, और उसके अकॉर्डिंग जो टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई होगा वह उसी टाइम पर ही हमें देखना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि इवेंट जो है उसी टाइम पर टैक्सेबल हुआ था. एंड एट द टाइम व्हेन द सप्लायर एंटर्ड इनटू एग्रीमेंट फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग सच सप्लाई और ही मेड द सप्लाई, जो वैल्यूएशन डिसाइड हुआ, he has to pay taxes on that only. Similarly, अगर इंटेंशन लो का ये होता, if that was the intention, there should not be any special provision for the treatment of discount. अगर किसी भी पॉइंट पर अगर हम वैल्यूएशन को देखते तो गवर्नमेंट सेक्शन 15 सबसेक्शन 3 में डिस्काउंट के लिए स्पेसिफिक ट्रीटमेंट नहीं देती. स्पेशल प्रोविजंस फॉर द ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ डिस्काउंट shall not be prescribed. Moreover, in the scenario, the value of supply is the transaction value, which is price paid or payable. In the case of bad debts, however, the amount has not been paid, but it has to be payable. However, the debtor has denied due to financial difficulty and the debt has become bad debt, but it is still payable. And there is a concept of recovery of bad debts. So in our view, the benefit of refund or adjustment on the GST paid shall not be available in case of bad debts. इस सिचुएशन के अंदर एक FAQ गवर्नमेंट ने इशू किया. The FAQ is issued for banking and financial sector. वहां पर भी गवर्नमेंट ने क्लियरली स्पेसिफाई किया कि in case of bad debts there shall not be any adjustment. Means the department has taken a clear stand. If there is a bad debt and the GST has been already paid on that, there shall not be any adjustment or there shall not be any refund. Moving to the next question, I would like Sunil to take the third issue, GST treatment on goods destroyed due to COVID-19. Moreover, in case you have any query, you can ask in the chat box. I will reply and Sunil will take off third issue. Sunil.
Thanks, Vishal. Coming on to the third issue, GST treatment on goods destroyed due to COVID-19. You would see practically, you would find that there may be so many goods in the industry which would be required to destroy due to this long lockdown notified by the government. This may be perishable goods, for example, beverages, juices, etc. And you would be required to destroy that because of their time limit and all that stuff. Now, if you are a trader, so you would purchase goods and you would sell that. You would have trading of goods with your stock, within your stock. And if you're a manufacturer, you would have either raw material, as well as finished goods with you on your stock of these types of goods. When you destroy these goods, would you require to revert any credit in the GST or not? This is the issue which we'll discuss. Now, if we come to the legal provisions relating to the input tax credit, Section 16 says that the recipient would be entitled to take input tax credit in respects of goods or services which are used by him in the course or furtherance of business. तो जो भी आप goods और services procure करते हो, अगर आप उसको बिजनेस में यूज करते हो, you would be able to take the credit. Simultaneously, section 17.5 provides that in respect of few goods or services, recipient would not be entitled to take any credit. Now, if we read the legal provision, the way it is drafted, it says, notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 16 subsection 1 and subsection 18 subsection 1. 16.1 says about the eligibility of the ITC, and section 18 subsection 1 talks about this ITC in special circumstances. It says the ITC shall not be available in respect of the following. And clause H, I think it is wrongly mentioned here. It is not B, it's clause H, 17.5H. It says goods lost, stolen, destroyed, written off, disposed of by way of gifts or free sample. So as per above, ITC would not be available in respect of goods that are destroyed. So as far as the raw material and finished goods are concerned, it is very clear that, okay, since you have claimed the credit in respect of those invoices, therefore you would be required to reverse the credit. But when it comes to finished goods, it is very interesting issue. Why? The question is whether under the GST regime, ITC is available in respect of finished goods or inward supply. I have destroyed the finished goods, not the inward supply. So can I say that since I have not claimed credit on finished goods supply, I have claimed input or on inward supply goods or services, therefore no credit would be required to be reversed on finished goods, because eligibility of claiming ITC and its condition are linked to the inward supply itself. So should applicability of section 17.5 not be limited to the ITC taken on the very goods, that is raw material, which are lost or destroyed? So if we want to answer this question, we first need to understand the meaning of the term in respect of, which is given under section 17.5. Now section 17.5, as we discussed earlier, it says ITC in respect of following shall not be available. Now what is the meaning of this term in respect of? There is a landmark ruling of Supreme Court in case of Swastik Tobacco Factory, which says that under the Indian jurisprudence, the term in respect of should be read as own. So the facts of the case were that there was a supplier, there was a VAT dealer who is selling the goods, and the CGS, the VAT valuation rules used to provide that in respect of output supply, the sale, the supplier would be entitled for a deduction in respect of excise duty. Now, the assessee argued before the authorities that in respect of the term expression in respect of should be read in a wider term, and it should include the excise duty which I have paid on the input side also. The valuation rule used to provide that in respect of goods sold. He was saying that, he was arguing that, okay, it should be read in a wider manner, and excise duty which I have paid on the input side, that is also required to be deducted. That should also be available. So court has analyzed the different legislation under the different Indian legislation and come to the conclusion that, okay, under the Indian jurisprudence, under the Indian legislation, the term in respect of is read as own. Therefore, we need to read excise duty on goods sold, and therefore the benefit of excise duty which is there on input side would not be available as a deduction when you sell the goods. If we apply that analogy under section 17.5, so we would need to read section 5 in this manner, that notwithstanding anything contained in section 16, ITC on goods destroyed would not be available. Therefore, since finished goods are destroyed and I have not claimed credit on finished goods, one may argue that, okay, I would not require to reverse any credit. But department is taking a different view. We have had a discussion with the Kerala Tax Practitioner Association. In 2018, there was a flood in Kerala. So the goods were destroyed there, and department has issued show cause notices to the traders as well as the manufacturers, saying that you would be required to reverse ITC on the finished goods also. So department is taking a different view. And also there is a circular of a department in relation to pharma industry, where wholesale dealer or trader returns the goods to the original manufacturer, and once the original manufacturer destroyed that time expired medicines, he would be required to reverse the credit. So department is taking a different view, and this issue would be litigative, and taken. Vishal, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sunil. So now moving to the fourth question, eligibility of ITC on masks and sanitizers. I would like to add one point. If you have any queries, you can post on the chat box. We will answer it after this fourth issue. You can ask the query in the chat box and we will take all those queries. So moving to the fourth, eligibility of ITC on masks and sanitizers. So all of us are aware MHA has mandated the compulsory wearing of face cover in the workplaces and the availability of sanitizers at entry exit points. So the registered person who wants to resume the operations, he has to buy the face mask, he has to buy the sanitizers. So by purchasing, he has paid the GST. So now the question is whether GST will be paid on the purchase of mask, so it will be eligible for ITC or not. अगर business को start करना है, it is now mandatory. So without purchasing face masks or sanitizers, business can't be operational. Operation start नहीं हो सकते. MHA की 1 मई की गाइडलाइंस भी कंपलसरी करती हैं और 17 मई को जो गाइडलाइंस इशू किया गया उसमें भी सैनिटाइजर्स के स्टॉक के बारे में और फेस मास्क के बारे में कंपल्शन डाला गया. So if GST has been paid, whether it will be treated as personal consumption or not. So basically, the answer lies in the two sections, the section 16 and the section 17(5). Section 16 says आप eligible हैं या नहीं हैं. Section 16 determines the eligibility of ITC, and section 17(5) overrides 16 by saying now these ITCs are not available. I am blocking the few credits. So section 17(5) के अंदर credits को block किया गया है, 16 में eligibility determine की गई है. So now the first test is सेक्शन 16 का टेस्ट पास होने के बाद अगर आईटीसी के लिए एलिजिबल है वो पर्सन, नाउ वी हैव टू सी द कंडीशन इन सेक्शन 17(5). क्या ब्लॉकेज तो नहीं है, वहां पर कोई ब्लॉक तो नहीं लगाया गया है. द इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड्स इन द सेक्शन 16 आर द रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन कैन क्लेम आईटीसी इफ यूज्ड बाय हिम in the course or furtherance of his business. Means the ITC shall be available if it has been used in the course or furtherance of business. If the answer to section 16, this point is yes, moving to section 17(5), we have to see whether it is for personal consumption or not. So the two tests are here. We have to pass the both tests. Interestingly, both the expressions in the course or furtherance of business has not been defined. The meaning of term personal consumption has not been defined in the GST Act. Interestingly, the Madras High Court, in the case of Palaparthi Ramamurthy, वहां पर they said the expression in the course of business should be read as the way the business is conducted. Means हमें यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा liberal interpretation लेना होगा. It should be read as the way business is conducted. Now, the purchasing of mask is mandatory to conduct the business. The business shall not be operated until or unless the registered person purchases the mask or sanitizer to look after the health of employees. So the first test has been passed. means it is purchased in the course or furtherance of business in order to conduct the business. Now the second question is, as per MHA guidelines, you have to buy. Now it is for the personal consumption of goods or services under 17(5)(g) or not, whether it would be treated as personal consumption or not. Before moving on this query, it is important to understand what is personal consumption. There is a term personal, whether it means purely personal expense or not. No, it doesn't mean purely personal expense, because the first test is section 16. The condition is in section 17(5), means section 75 restricts the ITC which are available under 16, means the expense has qualified the test of 16, means it is the business expenditure. It is not a personal expense, but it can be personal consumption. So there is a difference between personal expense and personal consumption. Now the term personal consumption has not been defined in the GST Act, but in the erstwhile regime in the CCR rules, there is a similar terminology. वहां पर भी स्पेसिफिकली एक्सक्लूड किया गया था कुछ सर्विसेज को विच आर यूज प्राइमली फॉर पर्सनल यूज और कंजम्पशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉई. सिमिलरली यहां पर भी प्रोविजंस बनाए गए हैं. बहुत सारे लैंडमार्क, बहुत सारे जजमेंट्स ट्रिब्यूनल के आए जिसके अंदर सेस्टेट ने और ट्रिब्यूनल ने इस चीज को इंटरप्रेट किया. द वन ऑफ द केसेस हिंदुस्तान कोका कोला बिवरेजेस, जहां पर डिटरमाइन किया गया इन द वेरी क्लासिक इशू ऑफ कैंटीन सर्विसेज. Now, in the canteen services, if it is for the use of employees in general and it cannot be treated as personal use or consumption, the ITC shall not be denied. And various judgments on this issue provide the same. So now it is clear, if the expense is incurred for employees at large, mask has been purchased at large for the employees for conducting smooth conducting of business, it cannot be treated as consumed personally. Therefore, the ITC of mask shall be available. So in our considered view, the ITC shall be available as it has passed the both tests, the test of section 16 and the test of section 17(5). The ITC shall be available. So now I request Sunil to take the queries.
Vishal, thanks a lot for your session. So can you quickly conclude all the topics in 2 minutes so that it will be easy for all of our participants to know their takeaways?
Yeah, sure. That would be great. So the first issue was whether the benefit of 36(4) shall be available cumulatively or not. So in the 36(4), there is a restriction. There is a restriction which has been introduced in 9th of the October, that the ITC shall not be available in respect of invoices which are not uploaded. However, a sum relaxation of 10%, earlier 20, then modified to 10. That 10% says, if suppose there is a total ITC of 100, 80 are appearing in the GSTR1, then the person can take 80 plus 10% of 80, that is 88, ITC of 88. Now, the relaxation by inserting the proviso says that if a person has not filed GSTR1, don't worry, you can take credit. The ITC for February to August shall be taken cumulatively in the month of September. हम उसको सितंबर में चेक करेंगे, फरवरी में हम नहीं देखेंगे. फरवरी के अंदर से लेकर अगस्त तक हम आईटीसी को इंडिविजुअली हर मंथ का चेक नहीं करेंगे. लास्ट में हम चेक करेंगे कि आपको आईटीसी जो है वो मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा. आप अभी सारा आईटीसी 100 का 100 लीजिए. सितंबर के अंदर अगर आपके जीएसटीआर 2 में नहीं हो रहा तो आप रिवर्स कर देंगे जाकर के एक साथ सितंबर मंथ के अंदर, अगर वहां पर 2A में नहीं आ रहा है. यानी कि कोविड-19 की वजह से अगर रिटर्न्स लेट फाइल होती हैं, सप्लायर लेट रिटर्न फाइल करता है, तो रिसिपिएंट को वर्किंग कैपिटल का इशू नहीं आएगा. द सेकंड इशू वाज ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ बैड डेट्स. इन दिस केस, इफ द बैड डेट्स हैज बीन अराइज्ड, देयर विल बी नो बेनिफिट टू द सप्लायर. Even the recipient failed to pay the full consideration, the GST has been paid by the supplier and the benefit shall not be available for the taxes paid to government. Government is not going to give refund of that, and the government also will not allow the adjustment in the future liability. Coming to discount portion, if there is a timely discount दिया गया है, वहां पर supplier ने recipient को बोला, I am giving you a discount for making early payment. Say 100 rupees की जगह you just pay me 80. No issues. So since this discount has been post supply discount because due to COVID-19, it cannot be said that earlier ये establish हो चुका था, section 15(3) की conditions को वो fail कर जाता है, section 15(3) की conditions के according वहां पर वो fit नहीं बैठता तो आपको उसका benefit नहीं मिलेगा, वहां पर भी आपको refund या फिर adjustment हम allow नहीं करेंगे. Moving to the third question, the third issue was ITC on the goods destroyed or disposed of. For example, we take a classic example of cold drink which has a shelf life of 3 months. Now, if a person has purchased the cold drink in the month of January, he has a stock of say 20 lakhs in the month of March, but due to COVID-19, it remained unsold. Now, due to 3 months, the stock has been expired in the month of March. Now, he has to dispose of the cold drink because he cannot sell the expiry items. So now when he purchased the ITC, he has purchased the cold drink of rupees 20 lakhs and he has got the ITC on that. He has to reverse if he is going to dispose of. However, there is a different view which can be taken in case of finished goods by reading the word in respect of. But this is a litigation prone area. Department will not accept it. However, the similar situation arise in case of Kerala floods 2018. The department has issued the SCN to the assessees to reverse the ITC on the all finished goods which has been destroyed, which has been disposed of. So taking to that, if the goods has been destroyed, the goods has been disposed of due to COVID-19, the supplier has to reverse the ITC on the purchases made. He has to reverse the ITC on the stock which has been destroyed or disposed of. It is immaterial whether it is raw material or finished goods. However, one can challenge this, but in the initial stages, department will not accept this and they will demand for reversal. Moving to the last issue, the fourth issue was eligibility of ITC on masks and sanitizers. As all of us are aware, MHA has issued guidelines. According to MHA guidelines, you have to buy the mask, you have to maintain the adequate stock of mask and sanitizer, and you have paid the GST on the same. This will not be treated as personal expenditure. Moreover, one more point which has not been discussed, it cannot come under the 17(5)(b) proviso, which specifically says if it is mandatory under any law to provide, but this proviso shall be read with the limbs provided in the B, 17(5)(b), and the purchase of mask and sanitizer doesn't fall in the 17(5)(b). It falls in the case of personal exemption, but it has been proved that this is not personal consumption, this is a business expenditure, and then the ITC shall be available. The registered person who has bought the mask and sanitizer, he can get the ITC without any hesitation. Yes, Savinay, I have.
Yes, thank you, Vishal. Thanks for your quick summary of that. Thank you, Vishal and CS Sunil, for really enlightening us with this entire confusion about GST. So we have a few questions running in. Vishal, can you quickly answer them? We have 2 minutes left. So we have Suresh asking us, can you please help me out on my query? During Jan 23B, I had claimed 1 lakh ITC, which includes invoices issued by vendors for last 3 months, 40 for Jan 20, 40K for December, and 20K for November issued invoices. While comparing Jan 22A, it is only 60K ITC. How to deal with it while filing Jan 23B? Is it too specific, or can we quickly answer that?
Yes, we can answer. Suresh, you can take ITC because the cumulative condition has to be taken with liberty. It has not been mentioned in the proviso that benefit of invoices of Feb to August. It has been just mentioned that the period of Feb to August shall be taken cumulatively. So by virtue of that, you can take ITC of prior period also. The condition came in October. For example, in October to January, you have claimed less ITC due to not appearing the GSTR 2A. You can take that ITC in the month of February itself or later on. You don't worry if the invoices, if your vendor has ensured that the same shall be uploaded before September, you can take without any hesitation.
Thank you, Sunil. So guys, hope you have all enjoyed the webinar. If you have any further queries, we would request you to drop your queries at our email ID sales@taxman.com, and with our help of R&D team, we'll be able to clarify all your questions. In the meantime, just for your information, guys, so Taxman has launched their Direct Tax Ready Reckoner. So he just released its bestseller, which is a ready referencer for all provisions of the Income Tax Act. The 44th edition is actually updated till 17th May 2020 and incorporates all the amendments made by the Finance Act 2020, the taxation and other laws, relaxation of certain provisions, Ordinance 2020. Right. So here is a quick link for you all to kind of browse the product and quickly check if you need this ready reference. Right. Thank you, Vishal and Sunil, for your time. We have got a lot of appraisals from our audience also that it was very informative. So, guys, we have also shared
Thank you,
the
Savinya.
PPT. So, hope you are able to download it from your file handout section. So, Sunil, we are getting some queries. Please drop us a mail at sales@taxman.com. We'll be happy to help you out. Our R&D team is ready for your service. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, everyone.